Greetings, fellow Siegers. Hero Siege Season 7 is officially set to launch on June 6th, bringing with it a wave of exciting new content. A brand new seasonal feature, powerful in-game bosses, an all-new class, reworked and newly added items, expanded blood pack support, hundreds of balance changes across all classes, and massive performance, anti-cheat, and server stability upgrades. And that's just the beginning. Be sure you mark your calendars, this season is shaping up to be a fun one. In today's video, I'll be walking you through a complete build guide. We'll cover everything that you need to know from pros and cons, leveling strategies, skill and sub-skill tree progression, attribute allocation, gearing recommendations for budget, mid-game, and end-game setups. I'll also break down optimal mercenary pairings, loot filter tips, and some helpful resources I've created to support you guys on your journey through the season. A full written version of this guide will be available on my website shortly after the video goes live, and as always, timestamps will be available for your convenience. If you're new here, I'm Graxy. I create ARPG-focused content with a strong emphasis on Hero Siege. My channel features build guides, game mechanic breakdowns, how-to tutorials, and content for both new and experienced players. If you enjoy this kind of content, consider subscribing to stay up to date with the latest Hero Siege news and guides. Your support, whether through a like, comment, or small donation, help keeps the channel going strong. Let's dive into it. This guide was created during the closed beta phase of Season 7 and is based on the content and mechanics available at that time. Please note that certain features, balance changes, or other game elements may be updated or modified as the game progresses towards its official release. The information presented here may not fully reflect the final version of the game, and some aspects could be subject to change. While I strive to provide accurate and effective build recommendations, future adjustments by the developers may impact the viability of certain strategies. Always refer to the official patch notes for the latest insights and information. Alrighty, the Fist of Heaven's Paladin is a powerful spellcasting oriented build in Hero Siege, focusing on divine projectiles that obliterate enemies from a distance. This build harnesses holy magic to deal devastating AoE damage while maintaining strong survivability with auras and defensive passives. Let's take a look at some of the pros and cons of the Fist of Heaven's Paladin. First, it is a very fun playstyle. You have a bunch of projectiles that are just honestly flying around everywhere. It's kind of a pseudo auto bomber. You'll basically charge them up and you can run into big packs and they'll blow up on packs and the more projectiles fly everywhere. It's really fun. It has built-in damage reduction, a holy aura. This gives you magic skill damage. It's for you and your party. So if you're playing with other people and they have magic abilities or they have elemental abilities, this will give them increased damage. As well as you do have passives for things like mana and faster cast rate, which are important to the build. Now, cons, it is a little bit slow at first. You are going to have to level as a lightning attacker. So you will do a little bit of a transition there, but it is sturdy. It does get a little bit laggy in some situations whenever there's a lot of projectiles going on. Honestly, there's no PC that's going to manage the fucking like 120 projectiles that are flying around everywhere on your screen. So that can happen. You get some lag there. And there is also a bit of screen clutter. If you're not the type of person that likes screen clutter, this build definitely has a lot of stuff just flying around everywhere. You can turn your opacity down, which will help, but it's going to make the ground fairly invisible. You're not going to be able to see it. So you also have no built-in movement. People will say there's ball lightning. Ball lightning is ass. I don't know, dude. I get stuck on everything with ball lightning. It drives me insane. I don't use it, but if you'd like to, you do get movement speed and you do like jump a little bit farther. Alrighty, so let's look at how to level the build. Now, from 1 to 7, we aren't going to get access until Fist of Heaven until level 24. So we're going to have to level with something else. I'm going to recommend that you go the lightning tree. I feel like that's going to be much better than trying to use Holy Bolt until 24, or even the hammers for that matter until 24. If you would like to go that route, by all means, be my guest. But I'm going to show you how to do it with lightning. We're going to put 7 points into our vengeance skill. This is really nice, especially once you hit level 5. You get some additional chains. It definitely hits a lot of monsters. Feels pretty good through Act 1, and it will kind of start to fall off in that Act 3 era. So just, again, it is a little bit slow when you're leveling through, but as long as you're finding some flat lightning damage, you could also get additive elemental damage of any type. It doesn't have to be lightning. You can use this as a way to, every time you hit with a weapon, you're going to get some additional damage that way. So there's definitely ways that you can beef up that vengeance skill, but overall it's actually pretty nice. Now at level 8, we're going to continue putting points into our vengeance skill, but 1 point fanaticism. This actually gives you a little bit of attack speed for that 1 point. I wouldn't put anything more than that 1 point in there, but just getting as much juice on vengeance as we can. At level 16, we're also going to dump 20 points into Holy Shock Aura, and we can just play a walking simulator. This is what I like to do. Just whenever I'm like out and about, I'll dump 20 points into Holy Shock Aura on my second bar. Run through zones, it'll just auto kill enemies, and then when I'm actually fighting bosses, I switch to vengeance and just get the most amount of vengeance damage. That is going to be the option that we have here available. At 24, this is when we respec. We go full Fist of Heavens. Be sure that you grab the extra projectiles in the sub skill tree. If you're not sure what sub skill trees are, we are going to talk about those after the skill trees here. But at this point, you're going to be blasting, right? Put 20 points into Fist of Heavens. You'll be absolutely shredding everything. It does shotgun, so if you position it perfectly like on bosses, it will absolutely obliterate bosses. Now at level 40, this is when we get our first augment. We're going to still continue dumping points into Fist of Heavens. If you don't have that max, be sure you do get that completed. And then from there, we're just going to be putting points into synergies. But at the end of the day, this skill is going to blast. The Fist of Heavens projectiles are going to be rotating around you, which is going to give you tons of clear. You're going to run into enemies and they're just going to circle around, hit the enemy, and then blast everywhere, clear entire screens. Getting this to level 40 is kind of insane, I ain't going to lie. Now, one thing that you do see, we did dump a bunch of points into Holy Aura. This is going to be double dipping because it is a synergy for Fist of Heavens, as well as it does give us magic skill damage because it's an aura. So this is a double dipping skill. Get as many points into that as you can. It'll make your Fist of Heavens just blast even harder. At level 70, this is when you get your second point for your augment. Make sure you put that in. It'll give you the extra juice. And then, of course, you just continue maxing synergies, your Holy Aura. Your next synergy will be Holy Bolt, and then you'll put the rest into the venerated one. And then our final level 100 tree, max Fist of Heavens, max your Holy Bolt, max Holy Aura, max the venerated one. Make sure you put 1 point into Thunder Shield, 1 point into Ball of Lightning if you want that. I personally don't care for it, but if you like Ball of Lightning or until you get Teleport, by all means, you can use it. And then the rest you'll put into Light's Embrace. This is going to give you some additional faster cast rate. Now for a single target, we are going to be using Holy Hammers. There we go, 2 M's. And this is what that tree is going to look like. We have our Holy Hammers. We have Light's Embrace. We have Holy Aura. We have Holy Retribution. Can't believe I remember that. Then we have 1 point into Thunder Shield, 1 point into Ball of Lightning. Right, this is going to round out our single target. This skill has gotten a good buff into Season 7. It's going to do really good single target. And we'll talk about the sub-skill tree that we're going to use for this here in just a second. So if you're not sure how sub-skill trees work, there's a plus sign in the top right of these skills. This is going to open up a window that looks like this to allow you to allocate points into your actual skill to give it a bit more depth. You gain 1 point for every 5 character levels for every skill that you have allocated. So for Fist of Heavens, here's what we're going to be looking at. The main thing you care about is this bottom left node. That's going to give you all of your projectiles. That's 8 projectiles for 5 points. It was nerfed from 10 projectiles. But either way, you're still going to absolutely blast. On the far right here, these are augments. So we're going to take this far right augment that makes it so that the projectiles will actually circle around us. And then lastly, we grab this last node here, which will make the nodes return back to their point of impact, which is great for more damage, right? Our single target, Holy Hammers, here's what that tree looks like. Main thing is up here, we get this augment that just shoots out a ton of projectiles, ton of hammers in a straight line. All of those hammers, when they hit, are going to get an AoE proc from this node here. It's fantastic. And then we have an additional chance to get some more hammers whenever we cast. We also get some Arcane Break. This is going to provide 50% Arcane Break for your Holy Hammer. Next, we have Holy Nova. Holy Nova can be used for a couple different things. You can use it as a way to restore mana because it is typically a restore health skill that you can just spam this skill. You can literally just hold this thing down and it'll regenerate your life. You can change it into mana instead. That way you have infinite mana. As well as if it, whenever it hits, it has a chance of giving you a Magic Find proc on that heal or the mana regen. So you just kind of spam it. You might get the proc. It honestly lasts for like a second or two. It's not a big deal. It does give you a little bit of extra Magic Find in certain situations. And lastly, we have Ball Lightning. This tree gives you up to 40% movement speed buff after you use it. You also have a chance to become immune to damage for 3 seconds. It's a bit sporadic. You're going to notice this little halo over your head if it happens. Great if it does. I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't use it as a no-ship button. It's too unreliable. Okay, looking at attributes. Skills can be pretty expensive to use early on. I recommend that you go 2 points Vitality, 2 points Intelligence, enough energy to feel comfortable, especially in those first few levels like 1 through 5. Getting some energy in some of those can make quite a big difference for that early sustain until you're able to find a mana on kill charm or a ring or whatever it may be, just so you can get some sustain. Be sure that you're looking for lightning skill damage early on. This is going to really help your early game, and then once you get into the end game, you're going to be speccing all into intelligence, right? That's going to give you the most amount of damage. Now, Paladin's pretty tanky. You get a good amount of damage on it. You might, in situations, decide to go all vitality, especially if you're in hardcore. Could be definitely a good option to go all vitality because you do get a lot of damage reduction on the character, just to make your health pool even more effective, right? Really up to you, but that's what we were looking at here. For gearing, a lot of different options for gearing. We're going to be talking about our pre-level 24, what we do after level 24, budget gear, whenever we hit level 100, then we have mid-game gear and end-game gear. There's a ton going on here, but this section is really just designed to give you workable suggestions on what gear to acquire at different stages of the game. You as a player, you got to look at your gear, figure out what options make sense for you. The best one is really the one that works for you. So at level 24, you can see we have a ton of different affixes that we're going to look for in items. It's mainly lightning skill damage, right? This is like flat lightning damage, resistances to life, sustained from life and mana on kill, intelligence, which is magic skill damage. This will affect the damage of the lightning that your vengeance will hit with. And then, of course, any sort of low-level satanics that you find around here that makes sense for either Fist of Heavens or the vengeance or the lightning side of it. Completely fine to use those. I can't guarantee that you're going to get any specific satanics while you're leveling, nor am I going to tell you to go farm for them. It's a waste of time. This character blasts too hard at level 24 to even think about stopping to try to farm out a satanic for the first 24 levels. So don't do it. Keep pushing. I believe in you. I also recommend that you do look for some arcane items early, right? So things with arcane skill damage, of arcane percent damage, any of that sort of stuff will be nice to have, because once you do hit level 24, we transition from a lightning skill to an arcane skill. So you're going to want to have a little bit of juice at that point, right? And then once again, we kind of talk about that in the post leveling. Here are some of the affixes that you look for on your arcane side once you actually do switch into Fist of Heavens post level 24. Here are some different things like arcane skills, arcane skill damage, arcane or magic skill damage, movement speed, faster cast rate, life and mana on kill, intelligence, energy on like on charms and stuff is really nice to get, because if you can spam your skill more, that ultimately ends up being more damage. So all of this is fantastic to get. Now on the written guide, this will all be available on the website. You can click through all these different item types, right, to see what we have on different things. Some people don't know that you can get like movement speed on shields and chests and stuff like that. So that'll kind of tell you, hey, this matters here and this matters here. But ultimately, like these main ones at the top are really the ones that you're looking for on most of your items. Now, once we hit level 100, we're starting into the early game. There's really no best in slot gear here. A lot of this stuff could be swapped out with good mythic, because you can find a mythic pair of gloves that has a bunch of skills and like arcane skill damage on it and whatever. Like that's insane to get. So I'm going to give you some workable suggestions here, but ultimately what you need to do is just kind of take a look at your character and find what makes sense based on the information that I have provided, right? I also do have examples of everything. We'll go through those here in just a second. Now I want to talk about the Thor's set. Thor's set is actually for Paladin. You can use this on other characters, but this one actually is for the Paladin. This is not only going to give you a bunch of skills here, but you are also going to get a set bonus for wearing the Thor set, which is fantastic, right? I would recommend that you stock it as many perfect amethysts into this gear as you can. The perfect amethyst is going to give you arcane skill damage. Very, very strong. A lot of people don't know how strong arcane skill damage is, especially since charms have had their skill damage nerfed. You don't get as much skill damage on charms now. It just makes these gems even more valuable to be socketing them, because they didn't really receive any sort of nerf. Now, there are, again, some budget items that we're going to talk about here. First, we have Sky Song, Divinity, Sands of Time, Damien's Head, Spearwalker Guide. Any of these will be fantastic. There's different levels of skills and faster cast rate, that sort of thing. I personally like Divinity. I usually go Sky Song into Divinity. It's just simple, right? You get a Jaw rune and you're in Divinity. You get any runes that you'll find in Act 1 normal and you'll have a Sky Song, right? So very simple to get into. Same thing for offhands. All these are perfectly fine. Sky Song, Divine Contemplation can help you with the resistances. Rift Eye is actually kind of insane if you're having problems with mana, because you get up to 1250 mana. You also get skills, faster cast rate, arcane skill damage. You get everything on this thing, right? The Rift Eye can be a good option. I also really enjoy Gem Crested Towers, just because you get the damage reduction. You get the 40 resistances. It has 6 sockets on it. You can throw a bunch of more runes in there if you need res or whatever it may be.
Very, very nice shield to put on indeed. For helmets, Scholar might be what you're using. Gives a +1, some, physical damage reduction. You get mana on kill, which is really nice. You're going to want to swap this into something a little bit better. Any of these are perfectly fine. Crown of the Midnight, Curator Secrets, which is Brand Hat. All these are going to be blasters. For chest pieces, if you aren't using Angle Oxawana, I would recommend making one of those. This is going to give you up to 4 skills: faster cast rate, arcane skill damage, penetration, vitality. Let's actually roll the vitality. Insane, right? Absolutely insane to get for your early hell playthrough. If you need resistances and you ended up finding an element of pull, you can go Gladstone Goose. This is a 4-socket body armor. That's going to give you up to 52% all res with some damage reduction. And then, of course, if you find, I don't know why, sometimes I come into these guides and I see lick. I don't know when I type lick in here or somebody's messing with me. I keep seeing lick in like these different places. Heaven's Might, Grand Wizard's Robe, Lichbane, those can be decent options as well if you end up just running into them. For gloves, Wisdom Holds are my preferred. You do get 2 skills, you get 25% faster cast rate, but any of these options here can be perfectly fine. Mevius's Mighty Gloves do roll with 3 arcane skills, or they can. This is a random roll, so that's really nice. For boots, we have Quick Steps or Ghosts are my preferred. I usually go Ghost just because I really like movement phasing. I don't like getting stuck on mobs, and until you get a source of teleport, being able to run through everything is just a really nice quality of life, especially for this build, since you're not really in melee range, but you're kind of in mid melee range. So it just really helps. Outside of that, if you want the most amount of speed, you would go for Quick Steps. They're going to provide the most speed, but you really don't get too much other value there other than maybe some energy. Belts. Satch of the Magi is beautiful. Ton of faster cast rate, ton of magic skill damage. See, the thing is faster cast rate is a good quality of life. Gives you not only just more casting, but it just makes the build feel smoother. The time between when you actually click the skill and when it actually goes off gets reduced. The animation time between that is reduced. It just makes the builds feel much smoother. So I prefer that over some of these other options, but any of these will be perfectly fine. Rings, Code of Wedding Bands, Iron Ring of Prometheus. Those are my top 2 here. Code of Wedding Bands giving you up to 2 skills. You get a ton of life. You get movement speeds. You can fly through enemies with it. Or if you, at this point, if you end up finding a, lucky Enigma, or you can make an Enigma, you could run the Iron Ring of Prometheus, get some faster cast rate. Also, having the faster cast rate might end up being a more damage multiplier than getting the +2 rings. Something you might have to test at that point, but it kind of depends on the rest of your gear. But either of these are totally fine. If you want to be super tanky, Ring of Talus, also up to 200 life, you get a % life. There's a little bit of buff there. And Satanic Eye can help you round out your resistances. Also, Elven Graces, the crit damage does not affect us, but it does get up to 2 skills. If you happen to drop a +2 Elven Grace, you're not going to not use it, right? Amulets, once again, all great options. I prefer Dark Lord Sigil. They're not too hard to drop. You get up to 2 skills, lots of arcane skill damage. If I don't end up getting one of these, I try to, if I get lucky and get the All-Seeing Eye. This has Magic Find on it. This is usually what I go for. If not, even Shining Pearl is great. You get 50 magic skill damage on here because of the attributes and the magic skill damage here, and you still get life and mana. So Shining Pearl is also really nice too. For charms, there's a lot of charms that we get here. Sorry, I'm losing my breath. There's a lot of charms that we can get here. Do not skimp out on your charms, right? You can get life, resistances, magic skill damage, cast speed. I'm gonna put both of those in here because it's very, very nice. You can get life and mana on kill for sustain. Now, there are some satanic charms that you might want to look out for in the early game, or if you find these, great. Just to give you an idea, Damien's Cage giving 4 skills, ton of arcane skill damage. This thing is insane. Same thing for Canopic Jar. This gets up to 25% arcane resistance. Just to give you an idea, the Moon's Shard gives up to 35% minus enemy arcane resistance. So this is pretty damn close to that, and this is just an S tier charm. So definitely pick one of these up. It'll really help with your early game damage. From there, we also have like Steve's Followed Death Skull. I really like this charm. This gives you a ton of life and mana. Traveler's Map Journal can give you some movement speed, all res, attributes. Any of these things will be perfectly fine to get in your run. Going on to mid game. So I do have an entire description on how to scale your damage in Hero Siege with Arcane Casters. If you're not familiar with some of the terminology and just the different affixes, this could be a really good way for you to understand how certain things work together. Definitely give this a read through, not too long. It gives a lot of good information in there. Once again, in the mid game, we do have some different setups that we're going to be able to show you. But before we get to that, let's talk about our weapons. Divinity Celestius can be fantastic. Find plus skill bases, right? You can find a base for Divinity and a base for Celestius before you make the rune word. It'll have like 4 skills on it, 5 skills on it. Then you make the rune word, gives it a ton more skills. Can be very good options. Paladin gets the beautiful Archangel Phase Blade. This thing gets an additional skills to Holy Hammer. This is our single target skill. So really nice for being able to get some additional single target on your Holy Hammer. But beyond that, you do just have a bunch of other stuff on it. Like it gives plus skills, it gives faster cast rate, it gives arcane skill damage, it gives percent damage, it gives magic skill. It just has everything, right? It's very, very nice. And it has up to 5 sockets. Now, Celestia or Stoflix's Cooking Cleaver is insane, right? That combo with the Celestial Shield that we're going to talk about in a second is absolutely broken, as you do get extra damage to burning monsters. You'll use this in conjunction with Holy Bolt. Holy Bolt is how we're going to inflict burning. So for single target, this thing is freaking insane. If you end up finding a St. Gabriel's or a Rift Masters, these can be okay options. They do provide skills. The big thing with these two is they have huge amounts of arcane skill damage on them, right? As well as this one you can see has skill damage, and it also has pen. So that can be, if you end up being able to pick one up for cheap, or if they drop, you could use those until you can move into something else. Now, once again, the offhands. Celestial's Authority, most likely your best in slot option here. It does give minus enemy arcane resistance up to 60%. You get sockets, you get res, you get kind of everything you need right there. This conversion, the Celestial Might, converts other elemental types into arcane at a 125% conversion rate. So you get a little bit extra, which is really insane. And then you saw we have Justice. Justice can be made on a skills base. So if you get like a +4, +5 shield base, that can be absolutely insane. You also get up to 20 skills to Holy Hammer. Absolutely broken for being able to help you kill bosses. Up to, a ton of resistances, magic skill damage. It's just a very, very good all around shield for us, right? If you can't get either of those, Suomi, Finland, Perkel, and Ancient Aegis, Gem Encrusted Tower, you can slam these Gem Encrusted, try and get some extra juice on them. Right, either of these will be really nice as well. Helmets, we have Side of the Gods to help us teleport around with. Harley Quinn giving us a bunch of damage reduction, resistances. Delirium, you can make this on a +5 base, get 13 skills on a Delirium. It's really nice. Same thing for Curse, you get a lot of skills on Curse, but you will have to roll it until you get a arcane skilled one, excuse me. Gabriel's Dauntless Vision can be good, right? You get skills, you get some magic skill damage, you get sockets, damage reduction. Cooldown recovery doesn't really do much for us here, but you do get some cooldown recovery. Gaze of the Oblivion can also be nice. You get up to 6 skills. This is farmed from Luna. So if you're able to kill Luna, and to be honest with you, Paladin has a pretty easy time in killing Luna, not only with the Holy Hammer getting a buff in its damage, but you just get, with the Celestials and the Thunder Shield and everything, you get pretty good damage reduction. You could also throw in some more damage reduction with Tremal Jewels. Those give you a ton of magic damage reduction now. So that can be a really, actually a decent option to farm out. And then if you want a bossing helmet, you would go for Dragon Knight's helmet. This is going to give you up to 40% extra damage to burning monsters and 3 skills. You also get 4 sockets on this thing. You'll use your Holy Bolt, you burn the enemy. You'll use this, it'll absolutely obliterate things just because of the extra damage. It will be more damage than a lot of the other options up here. For chests, most casters are looking to get an Enigma, that way you can teleport around. You will want to make this on a plus skill base. Now, Gem King's Garb is going to be a stupid amount of damage, right? You get so much on a Gem King skills, arcane skill damage, percent damage. Probably the highest damage of all the options here. Azarius is good for hardcore and just a good all-rounder. There's also Sheep King's Hide. We can only get this from Inferno Sheeponia. So if you don't have access to the auction house or the access to Inferno, then you're not going to get one of these. But if you are able to pop into one, it is a very nice chest to get. For gloves, Arcanums are going to be your best in slot. They do give Ominous Aura, which is just such a freaking strong aura. You get skills, you get faster cast rate, you get so much on these. It's insane. Until you can get Arcanums, you can farm Shadow Cultist from Sung Lee. Or if you find Fighter Magi's or Spell Weavers, these can be decent options as well. The only thing better than Arcanums would be St. Otto's. For boots, boots are cracked, right? Because you can get Astral Roamers from Hell difficulty. This come from the new Rogue Chaos Towers in the Codex of Chaos. There it is. And these will give you a bunch of skills. You get skill damage, percent damage, faster hit recovery, bunch of movement speed. These are really good, right? Now, there is a second pair that you will want to get, and those are called... Okay, there we go. Scorching Roamers. These are going to give you that extra damage to burning monsters. Again, you aren't going to get these skills, but, you know, fantastic for bossing whenever you proc the burn with Holy Bolt. For belts, Rugal is very strong. Get some damage reduction, get pen, get resistances. You can also go with a Cunninglingham. This can give you Paladin skills. You can slam these, try and get some extra juice on them. Sash of Eternal Hatred. If you're farming for Uber Gabriel, you're going to be doing Uber Damians. So you might get an insane sash while you're doing this. Definitely use that if you know, these can have random rolls. These red ones are random. So maybe you get some like arcane skills with pen or increased skill damage, or who knows what the combination is that you get. If you get one of those, by all means, use it. Girdle being our best option here, one of the best options. Not going to have access to that until you hit to Inferno, or if you have access to the auction house and there's one available, by all means, pick it up. This gives you a ton of survivability. Ton. For rings, a few different options here. If you want to grind out your Soulforge ring quest, these can be pretty nice rings to have. You can slam these, so you can get some crazy things on your Soulforge ring. Arcanus rings, these are going to be locked behind Inferno difficulty, so unless you have access or the auction house, Arcanuses aren't going to happen, but you are going to want to get into an Arcanus. If you can't get the Arcanus, another option would be going for Quickening Zephyrs. These can also roll arcane skill. These also can roll Paladin on them, so you can get some skills there. You could also just roll Mythics, right? You can find Mythic rings on the ground that have plus skills on them and just wear those and go crazy, right? The last option here would be Azazel's Despair. Azazel's can roll up to +3. You'll be socketing Mevius's Soul Gem in it. This will make it an arcane variant, not a fire variant. Again, getting the Azazels can be done in Hell, but they will be expensive and they are a bit rare. So, but they are a very, very good ring that rivals your Arcanus. For amulets, we have Philosopher's Stone, Steve's Neck, Thos Agony. So Philosopher's Stone giving up to +5. Now it was actually buffed a little bit and giving us up to 35% all resistance. Steve Necklace giving us almost 100 all attributes with physical and magical damage reduction and some all res. Very, very nice necklace. And then we also have Thos, which was buffed. This Thos comes from Amun Ra. You can get this in Hell Amun Ra. You have int to damage conversion. You have skills. You have a flat roll of int. You also have a socket. Very, very nice amulet to be wearing as well. For charms in the mid game, there's tons of them. There's tons of charms everywhere, right? I have a list of a ton of them in here. By all means, take a look through them. They're crazy. This one's new, Dragonheart. You get this from Hell 5 and Drixia or higher. Then there's obviously all these that we have from the budget section. If you haven't picked up any of these, then maybe you still can. By all means, go for those. Then you have a bunch of these crazy ones up here. Tablets, if you can find a 4-socket tablet. Tons of stuff you can put in here. You can go for Chaos Charms. You can go for Elemental Charms. You can go for Runes if you need resistances. All sorts of things you can do with your tablet. Now, once we get into the end game, a lot of different options that you can go here. Ultimately, it's going to kind of depend on what you're looking for out of the build. I prefer to go a little bit more zoomy, just have good comfortability within the build over just how much damage can I get, but I'm slow. So that's what my take is going to look like. By all means, the best build is going to be the one that works for you. So here's what our single target is going to look like in the gearing that I currently have. All this will be obviously available in the written guide that's available on the website. So if you want to look at some of the gearing that I use to get my damage numbers, here's everything listed. And then of course the AoE with that. Then I have a second setup. This is what I use for actual farming. And it's a little bit lesser gear. Like I'm using the Azurath with Justice just to give you ideas of, you know, where everything is at in terms of DPS. Now for relics, we have Bible, Triforce, Lost Wand, Magic Mushroom, pretty staple in terms of relics. You can swap these out for some other ones if you'd like to. If you'd like to go Cake to get some more life, if you're in hardcore or something, by all means you can. Triforce doesn't offer 30% res now. It's just not updated. It only offers 10%. So you could drop Triforce and go something else in this slot. Maybe you want to get, I don't know, Steam Sale to decrease merchant prices, whatever you'd like. For potions, it's a large list of potions here. Pick ones that you think are going to work the best for you. I like cast rate. I like the magic skill damage. I will typically pretty much always grab those, as well as I like to grab caffeinated coffee container. This is going to give you increased damage to burning targets. This will be really nice for whenever you're bossing. You'll put your holy bolt on them. If you're wearing the scorching roamers and the Intrixia helmet, things like that, Stophix's weapon, the Lilith's charm, all of those extra damages stacking up gives you a ton of extra damage towards that target, right? There's also empty bottle of vodka. This gives you up to 5 skills. Very nice as well. And lastly, for text augments, we have longevity, we have monstrosity. Both of these are great. Longevity will make your skill last a little bit longer. Honestly, I don't really care about that. I think monstrosity still, if the skill has plenty of duration, monstrosity is going to be your most damage. That's what I usually go. If you want a bit more quality of life, you want some more FCR, you feel like your character just doesn't have enough oomph in terms of speed, you can go Spellslinger. This will give you part of your magic skill damage as FCR, which is really nice. You can zoom around a little bit faster. And then if you're in hardcore and you want to know shit, chest augment, Survivor Shield will be great for you. Alrighty, let's talk about Mercenaries. Currently in Season 7, Mercenaries generally only have one purpose. They're just Magic Find Warbots. Mercenaries Magic Find is applied to your on-kill Magic Find. So if you were to take a Magic Find item and throw it on your Mercenary, and open up your character screen, you'll see under the Magic Find section that number didn't go up. But if you select Mercenary and then look at that Magic Find value, it did go up. That value is applied to kills that you get on your character. Even though it doesn't show in the actual character section, this is just to show you the difference between the Magic Find that you have on your actual character and the Magic Find that you have on your Mercenary. So you want to be stacking as much Magic Find as you can possibly get on this Mercenary. I cannot stress this enough how important this is. People will come into my stream, they'll message me on Discord, they'll ask in Discord chat, just everywhere. Hey bro, I'm having a hard time finding items, so what do you suggest? And I'll ask them, yo, what's your Mercenary look like? And they will have either no items, just no Mercenary at all. Now in Hero Siege, there are 3 mercs, Act 1, Act 3, and Act 6. We do not use the Act 6 merc most of the time. It just doesn't offer enough utility. You get some Arcane Break on it, and it can randomly give you a shield, which is cool. But it just doesn't offer the same utility of the Act 1 and the Act 3 mercs do. So Act 1 merc can generally get the most Magic Find as it's a sword and board class. So you have just more socket availability to put more Magic Find in, as well as they have good supporting items for Magic Find in those slots. But they're going to have a lower level of fanaticism if you are trying to go for that, if you're aiming to go for fanaticism on your character, if attack speed applies to you. The Act 3 merc can use bows. So this is going to leave us in a situation where we have a little bit less sockets and there's not really a whole lot of bows in the game that provide Magic Find. And again, we are going to be most likely using the Fanaticism bow just to get as much attack speed for our character as we can. The other nice thing about the Act 3 Mercenary is you can get a proc from her that'll give you 100% attack speed. This is really, really nice whenever you're maybe fighting a boss. 100% attack speed is no joke. And if you're a caster character, just go the Act 1 merc. Here's a list of some different weapons for your Mercenary. These are all just going to depend on whether you're taking the Act 1 or the Act 3 Mercenary. Again, Act 3 Mercenary cannot wear maces. It's a bow character, so the Sacred Whip, the Ceremonial Dagger, and the Death Smear, you'll have to use those on the Act 1 Mercenary. But you can use the Valkyrie. That's a really nice bow with Fanaticism on it. Otherwise, just honestly throw any bow that you can because the Mercenary doesn't do damage anyway. And then for the Act 1 Merc, we also have Aurora's Might. This can give us Lunar Aura. This is a ton of resistances. Very nice to have early on to tap those resistances. Otherwise, just pick any of these options. Death Smear is probably going to be the most expensive. Throw as many Istrunes in there as you can. This will give you a ton of early Magic Find. Same thing for chests. These are just different levels of Magic Find. So Uppies, Mystic Allure, Heaven's Might, Empires, Military Plate. All these have Magic Find on them. Heaven's Might technically doesn't, but it does have 6 sockets. You could throw 6 this in here if you wanted to. As well as you can see that you get a ton of physical damage and magical damage reduction on the Heaven's Might. Very, very nice chest. And then I did list out a couple of tankier chests like Leviathan's Carcass and Nazarius's. These offer a ton of damage reduction. You can see Leviathan's 1,000 life and 23% life increase. 6 sockets, you could throw a bunch of Isrune in there. Same thing for Azarius, you get damage reduction, you get the all res. The very tanky chest pieces that you could throw on your Mercenary to try to get him to survive some of those hits in Inferno and even some of the Ubers in Hell 5. Same thing applies to helmets. Here's some different levels of Magic Find helmets. You also get physical and magical damage reduction and up to 30% all res on a Harley Quinn. Very nice helmet for your Mercenary. And lastly, the offhands. Once again, just different levels of Magic Find. Leprechaun's Greed is an SS tier. It's going to be the most expensive, the most rare. However, you can't find a Novice Tower. This thing's insane for just being an S tier. You have a increased magic find roll, you have an increased magic find based on level. You also have up to 4 sockets to put is in it. That is a ton of magic find for an S tier. Again, socket any of these with a bunch of is runes. Is are honestly quite common, so it's not going to hurt you to pick up some of these items early and then swap into different ones later on. Because our goal is to get magic find on our mercenary as quick as we can. After hitting level 100, hero levels in Hero Siege can offer some significant power boosts, but which nodes do you take first? Knowing which nodes to prioritize can make a big difference. There are several effective strategies for optimizing your hero level tree, depending on your character's current progression and gear. This section includes a detailed written guide outlining popular approaches used by the community. If you prefer a visual walkthrough, I do have a YouTube video available with full timestamps. And just to give you a quick scroll through of kind of what that written guide looks like, we go through all the different setups that are available, whether you're an attacker or a caster, and what that would look like if you tried to prioritize certain things and why you might prioritize certain nodes over others. After level 100, glyphs can be socketed into your hero level tree and offer additional utility to enhance your gameplay. Currently, glyphs do not provide direct player power, making their selection entirely preference-based, depending on the content that you wish to engage with. I do have a full YouTube video that describes how glyphs work, so you can get a bit more information if you're not sure what glyphs look like, how to level them up. If you scroll down on this guide, you will find additional information. This will show you every glyph at their level 0, 6, and 8 value, as well as it'll tell you how much it increases by per allocated attribute in its range, its current attribute type, and a description. Alrighty, let's talk loot filters and more specifically league start filters. Now, I'm gonna be pretty blunt about this because I want to make sure that I get my point across so that it's clear. I cannot make loot filters before Season 7's patch actually hits the game. I can't do it in Season 7 beta. I can't do it in the Season 6 client. There is no way that myself or anybody can get you a filter before the season starts for the most part. Now, I did make a video in Season 6 that talks about the loot filter, highlight filters for any class in the game for starters. There is technically a way to set it up before the season starts because the patch actually hits about an hour before the game goes live. So there's single player, you can jump into single player on the new season and you can quickly make a filter and put those on a notepad, whatever you need to do, and then just import them whenever the season actually starts. So I do have a full video explaining how all of that works and what you will need to do. So if you're not sure how that works, be sure you check out that video. And then of course I do have the full written guide that explains every single archetype and what I put on each of those archetypes so that you can kind of practice. You can jump into Season 6, pretend that it's, league start day, make your filter really fast. You can get familiar with where everything is at. And it's honestly quite easy. Now, if you're a newer player, you're just not really sure how the loot filters work. Loot filters in Hero Siege are not Path of Exile filters, right? They're not going to hide 95% of the items on the ground. You're not going to start seeing that until you get later into the game. So you are going to still see quite a bit of items when you first start the game, and it's going to feel like the loot filter is not working, but it is. As well as the highlight filter is the main part of the loot filter. The highlight part is actually highlighting affixes on items that you care about. Right, so whenever you're playing through the game, you'll see this giant beam, and I don't know what color it is. I think it's orange. But it'll be like an orange beam and an orange highlighted item. You'll be like, oh, that's highlighted. I should probably pick that up. Yes, it's because your highlight filter is highlighting that item. So the highlight filter is very, very important. The loot side of it, not as big of a deal. If you don't want to do all of that for your starter filter, there are in-game presets that you can use for both the filter and the highlight section. So you're simply just going to click Escape, Options, Gameplay, and Loot Filter. This is going to make your screen look like this right here. On the right side, you can see all the highlight presets and the different archetypes. Like if you're playing a physical attacker, or you're playing a cold caster, or an arcane caster, or a life stacker, or any of that stuff, all of that will be in here. You can just click on it and go, right? Same thing for the loot side of it on the left. If you're in normal difficulty at the very start of the season, you'll be in normal. You just click normal. Once you hit Nightmare, you'll click Nightmare. Once you hit Hell, you'll click Early Hell, right? And you just kind of level with both of these together. And then as you play, you're welcome to click on these and go in and, add some different stuff into them if you would like to. And then of course you have in-game filters. I don't have a way to give you an in-game filter until the season actually starts. So once we get the season going, I've played for a couple of days. At that time, I will be able to provide some in-game filters. And our last section is additional resources. This section really walks you through the best strategies for each phase of your journey. If you're a newer player to Hero Siege, be sure that you read through these first few sections just to gain a better understanding of Hero Siege mechanics and how things work. And also check this section a couple of times before season starts, as I do plan to add some things to it. First up is our beginner guide. If you're newer to Hero Siege, I have a 2.5-hour video that goes through all of the basics from making a character and installing the game to how Ubers work. Be sure you check that video out. There are a few things that you need to know before you get started, like equipping your companion. Everyone gets one of these for free. Be sure you set up your highlight filter. In the video, I do have a full section on the highlight filter. Configure any controls. Here's currently my settings if you would like to copy what mine looks like. I also suggest that you change your minimap hotkey to tab. This will make your minimap overlay permanent, like D2 or Path of Exile, instead of it being something that you have to constantly press. Swap your game to 60 FPS. Even if you have an insane PC, trust me, you're not going to see a difference in your frames, but your performance will be much better. And in order to assign skills, you actually click on the right-click skill, and that will open up a menu to assign your skills. Now, there are no required quests in Hero Siege. I do, however, recommend that you complete your Act 1 normal quests. Those are going to give you a mid rune, a ton of the lower runes, a movement speed charm, and a movement speed potion. These are all really nice to have while you're leveling up, especially for being just Act 1 normal. The same thing will happen in Act 1 Nightmare. You'll get up to a Vex rune, as well as a bunch of low runes. And then once you get into Act 1 Hell, you'll get a few mid runes. Same thing for Act 2 Hell, and Act 3 Hell is when you will actually get your first high rune. So those are the quests that I recommend that you complete. In Hero Siege, there's additive damage and skill damage. Additive damage is weapon damage. It is damage that you're gaining when your weapon physically hits an enemy or strikes an enemy. This can be from a ranged weapon, a wand, a sword. It doesn't matter. It's your weapon physically striking a monster is additive damage. It is not multiplicative damage. Skill damage, however, is multiplicative damage. It is giving your skill base damage. So to give you an example of this, there's a skill in Hero Siege called Lightning Fury. It's quite common in a lot of ARPGs. You basically take your big hammer, you strike a mob with it, and a bunch of lightning goes out everywhere and chains to a bunch of monsters. If you had both additive lightning damage and lightning skill damage, the additive lightning damage would be affected when your weapon struck the monster, right? And then the skill damage would be affecting the lightning's damage. So there's two different instances of damage that's happening on that strike. Generally speaking, additive damage is great early game, absolutely terrible in the end game because there's no way to scale it. And skill damage is a little less effective early, but becomes very, very potent as you level through the game and as you get into the end game. If you haven't checked out the Season 7 patch notes, that is available in here. There is an official Hero Siege wiki that's launched recently. This has a ton of information. There's a link to that. Now, once you hit level 100, I do have a section here talking about the early game, giving you progression tips and tricks, because a lot of people are expecting, some mapping system or monolith system, or they're expecting to go somewhere and do repeatable content. And Hero Siege doesn't directly work that way. It has a bit of a different system. So this talks about that system a bit in video form, or I do have the full written guide available here. You can read through all of it to get an idea of what we should be doing in order to progress that early game. Be sure you bookmark the Hero Siege helper website. This has an absolute ton of information in it that's very accessible. I use it all the time if I need to know, I don't know, like what key goes to what dungeon. I'll just pop this up really quickly and it helps you find that. Here's a YouTube video that talks about this entire website and everything that it offers. He has updated it, I think, a couple of times since the last time I reviewed it. There might be a couple of things here and there that are extra, but very, very good website. Be sure you bookmark it.
And that wraps up this build guide. I hope it helps you get the most out of your Hero Siege experience this season. Whether you're pushing through the early levels or tackling the end game, this setup should give you a solid foundation to build from. If you found this guide helpful, please consider leaving a like and sharing it with others in the community. Drop any questions, feedback, or build suggestions in the comments below. I always enjoy hearing from you guys and helping where I can. I'll also be streaming live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Graxy_TV. You can come check me out there, ask me any questions. Would love to see you. Don't forget to check the description for the full written guide and any additional resources mentioned in the video. And if you'd like to support the channel, even a small donation goes a long way in helping me continue creating quality Hero Siege content. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any future guides, updates, or seasonal news. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy sieging.